Welcome to the Figure Zone. Today I've got another third-party 1/6 scale figure review. Now this is a third-party figure, which means the company does not have the rights to produce this figure. They make them so they can make some cash. We buy them because we want to help fill out our collections, because sometimes the big 1/6 scale companies just don't get around to making these figures, or the third-party company will make a variant of the figure that you want. So if you're cool with that, cool. Not cool with that, cool. I got this particular figure from the company called Giant Toy. I also order from 1/6 Kit and TNS Figures. Check out their websites in the description below. Here we have the Raven Blade figure, aka Corvus Glaive, from the Thanos Black Order. Now, this is from Toys Battalion, otherwise known as Infamous Toys, otherwise known as Toys Era. So all of these figures that are the children of Thanos are being produced by the same company. The box art looks pretty cool. It's pretty much the same box as the rest of the figures in this series, with the usual stuff on the front, sides, and back, and also the warnings: do not feed to your children. Now this is a basic shoebox style packaging, which is a little bit bigger than the usual Hot Toys packaging. And when you open up the box, you get the figure, and you also get a second tray on the bottom, all in the black foam. Now for the accessories, this is pretty much all you get. I'm not sure what else you'd want, but you get a base, which is awesome. It's got that grassy look going on there, which is pretty cool. So I'll take a base. It's got no nameplate in the front, which is good, so you can pop one on there if you want to. And you got the basic crotch grabber. Now the hands look pretty cool. They're very large and very pointy at the tips there, and they're pretty malleable too, which is awesome. And they did a great job with these things. Now you also get some interesting grabby hands here, which are used for grabbiness. And they pretty much look just like the hands that are on the figure, which are grabby hands for grabbing stuff. And the other hand is pretty much the same hand as the same hand you get on the figure. Okay, cool. Now his gigantic glaive double-sided weapon here looks pretty awesome. It is all plastic, which is good, because if this was die-cast, thing would weigh like freaking a pound, and you'd be weighing down the figure's arm, weighing down the ball joint on the wrist peg, and it would just look bad with a floppy hand going on. So with this, again, it's all plastic. It looks pretty cool. The metal part looks a little silly almost. It looks Marvel Legends-y paint, but the rest of the gold area looks pretty frackin' sweet. Just to give you an idea of how big this frickin' staff is. This is a basic 12-inch figure I had sitting around, so you could pretty much see there. Now they did a pretty good job of this figure. A lot of people are complaining, saying about they didn't like the costume and stuff like that, but I think it's a pretty good job. I'm just happy we got a Corvus Glaive. And for scale-wise, this is pretty much a picture of what everyone looks like. Corvus is crouched down a little bit in the front. So I think the scale is pretty much on here. Now, Hot Toys did tease us a while ago with a Corvus Glaive figure, but it's gone probably forever. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button if you're enjoying the video. What that does is it creates an algorithm, and the more interaction with this video, the more it gets shared with more people, so more collectors can see these awesome frackin' figures. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out any of my cool third-party and licensed reviews and third-party preview videos that I do. And here is the figure. And yeah, the head sculpt looks pretty cool. He's very menacing looking. I'm totally digging on it. He's got the hood on there. It looks like he's got a fully sculpted head, but I don't want to try pulling this thing off too much, because it is kind of attached to those little horn ear flash looking pieces there, so if you pull it down you might rip something. So the cape does look pretty cool. It's pretty long, and it's made of some kind of rubbery plasticky material, and just like everything else on the figure, it's like printed on there. A lot of us were expecting more detail with different layers of stuff, but they decided to go with some plasticky pieces and rubbery style pieces and just kind of print over top. I'm still cool with that. For the price, you know, it's not too bad. If they would have put super crazy amount of different materials and stuff in there, it would have been a lot better, but I'm sure the cost would have been up, and Sometimes you're on a budget with this kind of stuff and you can't spend, you know, $300 per basic third-party figure. So the feet are interesting. Some alien feet. They have like little clippy things on them, which is interesting too. Again, everything on the body is pretty much printed on there, and it's made out of some kind of rubbery kind of material, and it's got some give to it when you move the figure around. I would definitely move the material around a little bit if you're going to crank the joints up a little bit. But yeah, it looks pretty cool, especially for the money. It's not too bad. Now for some quick articulation. You got some movements in the head, and they can go side to side, up and down. You can move around a little bit. You can manipulate the hood a tiny bit, just a tiny bit though. Double jointed elbows. Bend. Double jointed knees. Bend them. And some creepy looking alien feet with weird little things attached to the sides of them. So you can bend those freely with the ball joint. Waist crunch, forward and back. I'm definitely digging on this figure. He's pretty fracking cool. From when I took him out of the box and just, you pick him up and you get him in hand and he just looks really cool. They did a great job on this figure. He looks pretty much like the character. Sure, we could have got a little more layers of clothing, but I'm happy with him just the way he is. I mean, it's a pretty cool figure, and he looks amazing on the shelf. I don't really have the space for these two right now, but I kind of threw him and Proxima on there. You can see Ebony in the back, and they look pretty cool. Juggies will be gone once Cull shows up, but pretty sweet looking in display. Now his gigantic glaive looks really cool. The silver parts look almost like toyish. They look Marvel Legend-y like. When you get it in hand, it's kind of like, eh. The rest of it looks really fracking cool. And it's all plastic, so I'm very happy with that. Again, if this was die-cast looks awesome, but this thing would weigh like a pound, and it would freaking weigh down the figure's arm. You wouldn't be able to get cool poses, and the wrist pegs would get super loose on the guy. And I just prefer the plastic. Now, interchanging the hands could be somewhat difficult. When you take off the hand, the wrist peg is covered up by some of the material from the arm, so it doesn't ride up the arm. It's a great idea, but it makes it sometimes a little difficult to pop the hand on the wrist peg. So I advise heating up the hands just a little bit with a fan, or just put them in your hand for some heat. It always makes the hand so much easier in any figure you have when you just heat them up just a tiny bit. The material that they use for the main suit is pretty forgiving. You can move it around and it pretty much goes back to shape. But moving the legs on like a split form is a little bit tough because the material is kind of tight. You got to kind of push the material up a little bit towards like the waist to move the legs well. So here he is with the mostly disappointing Proxima Midnight figure. She looks awesome next to him. It looks pretty cool, but once you put her next to like another figure, or like especially a female figure, or I have her next to my Loki, she just looks ridiculous. The head is too small. The body, I don't mind too much. The hands are baby hands. It's a little odd. Check out my review on her also for some more stuff on that. Also, these two were married in the comics, and they confirmed that they were married in the MCU also. So put them together. They're a happy couple to take over the worlds. Thanks so much for watching. Until the next video.